Hello there and welcome. In this episode we are talking about fancy goldfish and their common problems with constipation, bloat and swim bladder problems. To really understand what causes these issues, you have to realise that goldfish have been bred for a long time. I'm talking about the fancy ones in particular, the big round ones with the fantails. So they originated in China during the Ming Dynasty and they've been bred for their looks and traits ever since. So basically, just like certain breeds of dogs, certain traits that people like have been bred over and over again, and you get different looking fancy goldfish. And that explains why you get abominations like the telescopes, celestials, which have been bred for their looks rather than the actual health of the goldfish. And because of this, goldfish are very prone to issues with their insides. If you're watching this video, you probably have a goldfish which is either floating upside down, is looking really fat, hasn't pooped in a few days, isn't eating, or alternatively at the bottom of the tank sulking, and you're worried and you want to know why this problem has arisen. So the first thing we'll start with is constipation, because this is one of the easiest ones to fix. Now, goldfish, just like any animal, do require a mixed diet, and a lot of people just feed them flake continuously, and this leads to constipation, which is basically just like in any animal, the food gets blocked up inside them and they can't pass it. This is one of the easier problems to solve with goldfish, and it's not normally life-threatening. If your goldfish is still feeding, then a good treatment for this is to try and get it to eat some deshelled peas, because this will act as a slight laxative and help the goldfish to pass. Basically, it needs a fibrous food, and you can include this in their diet ongoing as well, just to stop it from happening again. Another option is to add some salt to the aquarium. This can help the goldfish pass out the food stuck inside of it as well, and that's aquarium salt. Aquarium salt is also used for some of the other things I'm going to discuss later, but for a constipated goldfish, the general cure is give it some fibre, give it some greens and vegetables, and a bit of aquarium salt in the water, and usually the goldfish will come out of it fine. If you can hear all the whistling in the background of this video, don't worry, it's not your imagination, it's just my cockatiel. He likes to join me in on these videos and help me do them. So the next common issue you get is swim bladder, and that's where the goldfish isn't quite floating right and is either upside down on the top of the water, or it's at the bottom of the tank and struggles to get to the top of the tank, or it's kind of just unbalanced floating in the water. Now, there's quite a few different causes for swim bladder, and because of that there's quite a few different treatments. So we'll start with the first cause, which is normally the most common cause, and that is to do with just breeding of goldfish. So as I explained earlier, they've been bred and bred and bred and bred, and no real care has been taken about the life of the fish. No one really cares about the health of the fish, more about the looks. Goldfish are very prone to having a genetic disposition towards swim bladder disease, and there's not a lot you can do for it other than, unfortunately, euthanasia. Obviously try the treatments I'm going to suggest later, but if it's a genetic problem, there's not a lot you can do to it to cure it. And basically, due to whatever factor, whatever breeding condition, normally it's to do with the fact that goldfish these days are just bred in their millions and sold. They're very low quality in most cases, and you get genetic problems. If you want to avoid genetic problems with goldfish, then you'd want to spend more money on them, buy the more premium ones, because they tend to have decent heritages and don't have these problems because it's been bred out of them. So another reason for swim bladder problems is quite a simple one to fix, and that is when the goldfish is only fed floating foods, such as flake food. So flake food will sit at the top of the water for a long time, and the goldfish will eat the flake, but while it's doing so, it will ingest a lot of air, and this air will go inside the goldfish. Some of it will get expelled through the gill plate, but some of it will stay inside the goldfish. Obviously, extra air inside of a goldfish will cause it to be unstable in the water, and it'll either float to the top upside down, or it will just sort of be a little bit unstable in the water. This kind of swim bladder problem usually just goes within a couple of hours and the goldfish is back to normal. So if that's the problem you've got, then it's easily solvable by simply giving the goldfish a sinking pellet instead of flake. And so the last cause of swim bladder problems with goldfish, or buoyancy issues, this one also is a cause for the goldfish to be sitting at the bottom of the tank or being really bloated and lethargic, and that is bacterial infections of the gut. It's not always of the gut, but generally internal bacterial infections. Sometimes you can diagnose this because the scales are raised and look a little bit like pine cones, and that's a good indicator to say that it's an internal bacterial condition. So anything to do with bacteria, you're going to need to add stronger chemicals. So there's many chemicals on the market that you can use and treatments that you can use for internal bacterial problems. Here is one as an example. So basically and simply, go out and buy an internal bacteria treatment. They're very strong these days, and as long as you get one that's from a decent, well recognised brand, they'll tend to do a good job. The only issue you need to find out is why the goldfish got that bacterial infection, and normally under good conditions they won't. So generally it's caused by poor water quality. So buy yourself a test kit or go to your local shop, get your water tested, and then resolve any issues you have with your water quality. So that's a general overview of treating goldfish with swim bladder issues and bacterial infections. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching, and happy fish keeping!